is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Rivalry weekly NFC West talk. I'm Joe Stevens with Seahawks Talk, and this is Ryan with No Border Sports.
No Border Sports of No Border Sports. Make sure to check me out. I just realized that I got both the same name twice.
Yeah, I saw that. Usually it's No Crypto.
Yeah, I'm extremely talented.
Yeah, for sure. That's I'm kind of a big deal. People know me. But yeah, man, you've been hearing any news lately? Besides Trey Lance's hairline or
oh god. Well, so if you hadn't heard, Trey Lance's throwing motion has been fixed.
Oh yeah.
Sure. So he was having issues that we had it had been noted. He wasn't releasing high enough in the air. But also before he was ready to release, he already had his front foot already flexed or already, straightened out. And he was just essentially like through half of his motion, just muscling it the rest of the way. So that essentially is what caused his, awkward throws, his inaccuracy, essentially his wobbles. Well, I don't know if that was totally all his wobbles. I think there's other things that had to do with his wobbles, but that was a lot of his inaccuracy issues. We don't know really if it's fixed or not. We've just seen him throwing, and it seems like he's doing everything right as far as his legs go when he's throwing the ball. And only time will tell if he could do it under fire. Because if he reverts back to the old thing, then this is a moot topic. You know what I'm saying? But if he can show that this same stuff out on the field week 1, 2, 3, you know what I mean? I think he's going to fare much better.
Well, and that was Cam Newton's issue for a long time, right? Throwing mechanics, the style is throwing. So we'll see. It's almost like sometimes it's like you can't teach old dogs new tricks. So we'll see if it actually works.
So one thing about Trey is that he's really good at learning things from what I've been told, like what we've heard about him. It seems like he can make corrections on things play by play. You know what I mean? Like, hey, Trey, you messed up here. You needed this. And the next play, he's doing it. You know what I mean? So it seems like he can make corrections and he's good with it, supposedly. He also, I don't know if you knew this, Joe, but when it came to OTAs, I believe it was OTAs, or by the time that, I think it was OTAs, he had more hours logged in his tablet than anybody else on the team.
Oh, really?
Like when he first came to the team, he was the guy who studied the most out of everybody. And Kyle even had to like tone it down and say, he gets credit even if he like turns it on, he just lays it down to the side. But we all know that, did you know that Trey Lance used to have to write down his goals every day and track them in a spreadsheet?
No clue. I don't know anything about Trey Lance other than he's number 5.
His dad made him sit down every day and go over his goals. And essentially, every day he had to write in the spreadsheet what he did to try get closer to obtaining his goal. So this guy, people are talking about, I'm saying people are talking about trading him away for a second round pick when you gave 3 up to him. And this is the kind of guy you got on there, a guy who was told you can be a tight ender in Division 1. And he goes, nah, I'm going to go be a QB where you think I can't be a QB. Go undefeated, only throw 1 interception in 2 seasons. Well, whatever, 1 season, 1 game. It comes to the NFL, he's raw. Dude's raw.
Well, and it makes no sense. You haven't seen him. You haven't seen him enough to even. If somebody offered you 3 first-round picks, no question, I'd jump at that, right back at it. You know what I mean? But the fact is, you haven't seen him play enough to be like, oh yeah, he's worth a 2nd or 3rd round pick. I'd let it ride. I'd almost, even if he sucks, I'd almost let it ride with giving that much draft capital up for him.
Well, you're on the hook for his contract, essentially, anyways, right?
I think so. I don't know too much about the.
What are you going to move off of him? Well, so I don't know the workings of his contract, but I'm pretty sure that if they were to, cut Trey or trade Trey, his contract years come due because I believe they're on the hook for that, depending on how the contract was written.
Yeah.
Certain money could be not, because I know like people like Bosa, Nick Bosa, he held out at it in the language that pretty much whether I'm hurt or not, I'm getting my money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And he's like, I'm not going to fight on this money. He showed up to camp. He did everything he was supposed to. Showed up to camp. He's like, but look, I'm not going to sign with you guys unless you make that guaranteed there, bro. So I think that there's a chance that, yeah, why would they just toss him away? You're talking about all else fails, he's a backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Need those. It's been shown you need those. You know what I'm saying? He knows the system. He knows the players. You know what I mean? Like, there's no sense of really moving off of him unless somebody's trying to like almost match at least half of what you gave up for him.
Yeah, like a first and a second, something like that.
And I still wouldn't do it right now because
it's too
I'm
early
holding out hope we might have. Exactly. And he wasn't used. I don't think he was used right in half of his showings to get a good sample size anyways.
Yeah.
Like the first game of this last season was just a downpour. Then the second game was just like a run fest. It was just a run fest again with good weather. And then he got hurt. You know what I mean? The best game we've seen from him was the Texans game
2 years ago, right?
And people were talking crap about, it's the Texans, but the Texans had held good quarterbacks to crappy numbers, and Trey worked them. So what I mean?
Honestly, when it comes to quarterbacks that haven't played yet, I'm more afraid of Trey Lance than I am of like Jordan Love, right? Because I just feel like there's just possibly something there that we haven't seen, obviously, because the injuries or because he was sitting behind Jimmy G. So I'm sure I told you this before, but we still got our asses kicked week 2 against you last year. But when Trey Lance went out and Jimmy G came in, I had utmost more confidence that we could make that a football game than with Trey Lance at quarterback.
Yeah. Because why? Because it was the same old story with Jimmy. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm worried about happening with Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Not that he's necessarily Jimmy Garoppolo, like he's going to plateau out and he's never going to. Did you know that? Did you know that Jimmy Garoppolo, during 2020 or no, 2021? Yeah, 2021. That preseason there, he started staying after Trey launched a big, huge bomb in the preseason game. Mm-hmm. He started staying after for 1 day, or maybe it was 2, stayed after and threw deep bombs with the wide receivers and ran sprints to try and get quicker because all of a sudden he felt intimidated by what Trey could bring to the table. And this is the thing I don't understand. If you're going to realize when they're at the doorstep that you got a situation,
it's too
why
late.
weren't you? Why? Yeah, you need to be planning beforehand. You needed to give somebody something better.
Well, look at total different situation, but look at Geno Smith. He prepared like he was a starter for the last couple of years. He acted like he was a starter, and look, he steps in, and nobody takes his job this year because he was prepared, right?
And he's got the team behind him.
Yeah, and he felt a guy breathing down his neck the whole time, all last season, but he didn't give up. I mean, there was obviously a few games, but there was never a single game where at the end of the game you're going, start Drew Lock, right?
And they traded with Denver just to get Drew Lock, and that couldn't even demoralize him to even affect him. He was like, that's cool. You got a guy you like? Oh, that's even better. Because then I know if I make it, then I'm the guy. Because you had your guys. It's just like, what's his name? Flynn? Yeah. Flynn with Russell Wilson when it first started. They had their eyes on Flynn. They had paid that guy. He was going to be their starter. And it was like, nope. This other guy's got it. You know what I mean?
By that third preseason game against Kansas City, you knew. You're like, okay, well, this guy's got something special.
You guys have had a couple of good backups that I was always jealous of over the years. Like you've always had a nice wiry third stringer that I was always like, I like this guy because they move around, you know what I mean? They attack things. And I didn't know why you didn't keep
the problem
someone.
with our backup quarterbacks for so long is they never got to play, right? Which is a good problem to have, obviously. A really good problem to have. But the problem with our backup quarterbacks is Russell Wilson never missed a game until 2021. So they never got to play. So it's like you never really saw what they were actually capable of. I mean, yeah.
I think you guys got the better deal of that, hands down. Even if he
Mm-hmm.
goes and wins them a Super Bowl, I don't know how much left he's got because he was wrecked. He was wrecked playing on your guys' team so many times, all those sacks and tackles and all that, that I don't know how much he's got left. He's slowed down.
Now the national media is starting to see that, hey, maybe those sacks aren't really on the offensive line. Maybe not all the sacks are on that offensive line. We've been complaining for the past 5-6 years that Russell Wilson holds the ball too long.
And he does.
And it's like every time Geno got sacked last year in a situation where he'd hold the ball too long, everybody and their mother would go, oh, no, don't be Russell. Don't be Russell, because that's what he'd do.
But Geno wasn't being Russell.
There was a few plays in the season where he got sacked. He's holding the ball too long.
Well,
but yeah, no, that's
certain for instances. It's not like it was he was known for it. You know what I mean?
No.
Like there was crucial times in the games where maybe he was trying to get something done. Maybe there was a certain route or a matchup he knew that he had an advantage on or thought he did, and he wanted to give it enough time. That I understand here and there. But if you're just always like, nah, that doesn't look good to me. Nah, that doesn't look good to me. Nah, that doesn't look good to me because, someone's not totally wide open. Like that's
with Russell, he's like he always throws not very many interceptions. Well, look at the amount of sacks he takes on third down. It's like almost you'd rather have him risk it half the time.
It's like a punt. It's like a punt.
Arm punt. Yeah, an arm punt.
And you might even be able to get down the field more and with less return.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So I don't know. I'm really happy with Geno. I really am. And I don't know if you heard him say in his press conference that he said, they go, how will you feel if they draft a quarterback in the first round? He goes, well, I do exactly what I'd hope the veteran quarterback would do with me. I'd treat him the same, but just know it's a competition and I'm going to win. Yeah. So he says all the right things, but it's not from a script like our last quarterback.
Remember when Ryan Tannehill got flack last year when they drafted
Malik Willis?
Malik Willis, yeah. And he was like, that's not my job. That's their job. And it's like, that's totally true. It's not his job to get Malik Willis prepared. It's his job to be in the quarterback room and share his insight with Malik Willis. That's his job. But his job is to focus on his position and his starting position. That's his job. Like, not to say that people can't talk, but it's not his responsibility whatsoever. And people were like, well, don't you want a guy this and that? Da, da, da. I said, is it in the contract? No. So why is he? No. If you want it, if you want it so much, put it in the contract. But the way I see it,
I like the way that Geno said he'd be willing to mentor anybody that comes in. I just think it's
and that's most quarterbacks in the league. And I don't know how they do it because I don't think college is that way. But once they get into the NFL, it's like, okay, never mind anything else. It's about, just making sure this thing is the best it can be. It seems like, there's a higher purpose when they get to the NFL. You know what I mean? Like people's egos tend to take.
Yeah, money gets involved, right? Big money gets involved.
That could be it. Hey, like I'll take ride the bench for a couple mil. That's no problem, man.
Brian Culp's in the house. What up, Brian? Nathan Z. Lockdown Corey Davis. Make sure to be at his trivia show tomorrow. David McNiner. Oh, and Tony. Tony, good first show today.
I gotta go back and watch that. Brian, did you know there's a Seneca Street in Seattle?
Yeah, not named after Seneca Wallace.
Not named after him. What are some names that are, or what are some streets that are named after Seattle
Sports
sports
people.
stars? Didn't they have
Yeah,
a Holmgren?
I don't think so.
I thought they changed something to Holmgren.
We might have. I know Packers did. Packers have a street named after Holmgren. We have Dave Niehaus Way and Edgar Martinez Drive.
Yes.
And then Royal
Those are two great
Bromes.
guys.
Yeah, and then Royal Brome Street. He was a sports writer for like the Seattle Times back in the day. And other than that, maybe they have a Holmgren Way on like Occidental or something where the stadium is. I'm not sure.
But Dave Niehaus, man, what an iconic voice. He is. So sad that he passed.
Oh yeah, one that almost left you in tears, when you watched, especially when they did the tribute video at the beginning of the season. You're like, oh my God.
It's like that. It's like that with the Dwight Clark video. If you watch the one with all the letters and he's sitting there, essentially on his deathbed, and he's, just with all the players, and he's just talking about it, and just like he's hearing all the stories about the catch. It's just,
yeah, that one thing I have respect for Dave Niehaus more than just about anybody in Seattle sports is you can say he never really got much of, it sucks. He never got to see his team be in the World Series. He was an announcer from day one in 1977 when the team started. I
remember the 116 game season.
Yeah, I don't even get me started on the Mariners.
Bro, it was like they had 2 strikes and 2 outs, and that's not where you wanted to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would think in baseball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. This is exactly where I want to be. That is not where you want to be with this team, because they were going to drive in like 4 runs on you. You wanted to get one out and then somehow get a double play to get them off the field. You did not want to get in that position because they were just going to. And Ichiro, like, sorry, I don't watch a lot of baseball, but Ichiro, if you like, that guy's probably the best baseball player ever. If you combine his Japanese stats with his,
I'm not an Ichiro guy,
bro. You don't have to be. That guy, his on base percentage was crazy. He could steal bases. He had a cannon. That little bitty guy had a cannon.
Yeah, he can throw it from right field to home. No problem.
He couldn't hit it out of the park, but he was hitting the most doubles and triples and whatever in the league because he had the wheels to get around the bases with whatever he could. And he could put the ball wherever he wanted it.
Yeah, that was the thing, though.
I would take a guy like Ichiro over probably a lot of other people other than a pitcher. You know what I'm saying? Like, other than a pitcher, Ichiro would be my first player off the mark.
Well, my problem with the Mariners, and we'll get back to NFC West in just one second, but I have to get this off my chest on stream. Their ownership sucks.
Yes.
Their ownership is in it for the money. They made the most money in professional baseball by a lot last year because they're not paying their players very much. And then the reason they never won a World Series is because guys like Griffey and guys like Randy Johnson wanted to get paid, and they go, oh, you know what? You go somewhere else and get paid. A-Rod's a different story. Not a lot of people have that much money. So,
A-Rod.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I remember when he came back and somebody brought a fishing pole and they attached a dollar bill to it. Yeah.
Well, they threw dollar bills on.
No, so they had it over top of him, like, grab the money, bitch.
Do you guys
awesome.
Maybe this for the chat too? Do you guys ever watch Cowherd?
No, we don't like him. He talked a lot of shit about Trey Lance because his daughter got dumped by Trey Lance.
Well, bro, I hate Colin Cowherd with a burning passion. He claims to be a Pacific Northwest guy. You haven't lived here since the 80s. Yeah, I doubt you've even been here since the 80s. I mean, you're not a Pacific Northwest guy. He was saying it was classless for the Seahawks fans to boo Russell Wilson. All that, he dick rides Russell Wilson. That's his guy. He rides Russell Wilson's dick. So, anyways, in the same comment, he brought up how classy Seattle fans were when A-Rod came back. And that's when his credibility just threw out the window to me. I was like, what are you talking about?
They kept the same energy.
Worse.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
no, but you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the same energy. Like, how are they different, bro? Like, how can you point at one saying that it's classy and another one saying it's not classy?
I'd almost argue that A-Rod was worse because A-Rod at least went for the money. Russ just went because couldn't stand Pete.
Did you I love George Kittle, but he kind of looked a little bad in this thing. You remember the Angel Reese, the "you can't see me" thing?
No. Sorry.
Okay, so in the women's NCAA championship.
I heard a lot about it. Yeah.
Okay, so Angel Reese did this to one of the ladies to the other team who had been doing that same thing to like every team. Well, not
she
every
was
team.
talking.
But,
She was a huge
yeah.
shit talker, and then at the end, this other girl
Kittle said, "Oh, I didn't think that was classy," and somebody was like, she was just repeating what the other one had been doing to the other people, and he was like, and he tried to like make it different, and it's like, no, bro, no, I love you, Kittle, I love you, George, but no, you just got to go, oh, I'm an idiot here, I didn't know about that. You know what I mean? Like, if that's classless, then that's classless. They need to figure it out, but he couldn't. I don't know why.
Any news on the Rams or Cardinals lately?
The Cardinals are trying to pick up your ex long snapper from the 2021 season.
Clint Gresham, Tyler Ott.
I think it is.
Okay. I get the two confused. That all long snappers look the same and wear numbers in the 40s. So
we got Tabor Pepper, and he's the shit.
I don't think I could forget that name, though.
Yes. No, you can't. And if you ever saw one of his interviews, you could never forget him after that. He's one of the like, bro. So in high school, he was just a long snapper.
Mm-hmm.
Like his dad, I can't remember what position his dad play. I think it might have been like offensive line, maybe, or something. But he was like, I'm just going to be a long snapper, because he knew long snappers are in demand. If you spend your whole high school, whole college career long snapping, you're going to be really good at it. So he was like, I'm making it to the NFL by just being a long snapper. Forget all those other positions where I'm in like the lower percentile, I got no chance in. I'm going to go after something that I can hit.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. They don't get hit.
No.
I mean,
and like he's perfect for it, because he can also get down the field and make tackles and all that stuff. He's not like a big guy, you know what I mean? He's taller than a normal center, I would say. And long legs, so he can get down the field.
Not to bring up a sore subject, I'm not sure if it's sore or a happy subject for you, but what was that long snapper? It was at Candlestick, I think. It was against the Giants. Was that your guys' long snapper that snapped the ball bad, or theirs? Do you remember that a long time ago?
Are you talking about the championship? Because I don't know if we really care about the snap. It was more of Kyle Williams muffing punts.
No. This was like 10 years before that. I can't remember it. That was a stupid thing to bring up. Maybe if the chat remembers it. There was something with a long snapper, you guys and the Giants. Yeah,
Corey might know.
That Kyle Williams, he was your punt and kick returner, right?
Yes.
I think he muffed one against us in the regular season right before that, too, if I'm not mistaken. He muffed a lot.
The ball comes down and it hit his calf, and then he acts like it didn't touch me, instead of just jumping on the ball like he could have done. Just, nope, it didn't touch me. Then they get the ball, they score. It was like, I was like, make that fucker walk home, because somebody is going to beat his ass.
You have to admit, though, that turnaround was actually pretty crazy, especially with the first-year head coach, right? That was Harbaugh's first year, 2011.
Was it?
Because Pete's was 2010. So Harbaugh.
I can't remember the years.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I can Look him up.
But yeah, Brian Culp says, I still don't know if it touched him.
Oh, whatever.
Didn't he muff 2 of them, though? It wasn't just one.
So, no. It's one he totally muffed.
Yeah.
Like he essentially fumbled.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one was a muff.
Yeah, you were Bryant still blames Alex Smith. You were saying something about the Texans saying they weren't sure they were taking a quarterback with the number 2 overall pick.
Yeah.
How that could affect the Seahawks and Cardinals realistically.
So the Cardinals they don't know if the Cardinals are going to keep their pick.
I don't think they will. Because what's going to turn that team around? Not Will Anderson. Maybe. I mean, if you're taking best available player, but I don't. I think there's so many holes to fill. You might as well try to make 2 first-round picks out of 1.
That's what I think they're trying to do. And I get it. I just, bro, like, what does it matter at that point? You know what I mean? When you got somebody on the table like that, you could build a whole team around them, bro. Now, also the thing is, if you got you're essentially your franchise quarterback, right? So this isn't like a full rebuild.
No, not really. I think a rebuild back towards mediocrity is what I really think it is.
A retool to, but like, so that's why I'm like, I don't know if I would trade back too much. It depends on how. I don't think they draft as well as the Niners do or the Seahawks do. So to me, I would probably rather just keep what I got. I guess.
Well, I mean, look at the last quarterback they drafted before Kyler. I get it. That was a different GM, and it's actually a different GM now than the one that drafted Kyler. But who was that? Rosen they drafted?
Yes.
I mean, God, they've been awful. I mean, and they've had some good players come from the draft, right? But no really game wreckers I can't think of. It seems like their best players come in free agency. It always seems that way.
Yeah.
I mean, even when they made the Super Bowl run, you had Kurt Warner and Edgerrin James.
They drafted Budda Baker.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was, But outside of Budda, I can't tell you what gems they've came up with lately. Oh, wait, who was it?
25, you think?
Was it Hargrave? Who? Or no.
Isaiah Simmons?
No. There was Simmons, but there's another defensive end they drafted.
Oh, Chandler Jones came from the Patriots.
Yeah, he was a free agent. There's another. Is it Yannick?
No, because he was a Jag.
Okay.
Zach Allen, maybe. He just went somewhere else.
I can't remember. Maybe it was like Hargrave or somebody on the Eagles. I think that was
originally drafted by the Cardinals.
Yes. Houston? I don't know.
Yeah, Eddie, anyway. I wanted the Seahawks to take Budda bad, and really, you think if the Seahawks, Eddie said, used to love seeing Budda ball out at UW. It sucks because, so the Seahawks drafted Malik McDowell that year in the second round. It's their first pick. They wouldn't have traded Jermaine Kearse and a second or third round pick for Sheldon Richardson. Came here, played 1 year, didn't do anything special. And on top of that, we passed on Budda Baker, drafted Malik McDowell. He gets an ATV accent, never plays a snap in the NFL for the Seahawks. And it was the collapse. That Malik McDowell was like the first apple that fell off the tree, if that makes sense.
I don't think you guys should be trading for people anymore.
No, it doesn't work for us.
Unless you're like moving picks around and you're getting like a depth piece. You know what I mean? Like that's because you're not trading for the player, you're trading for the picks. You know what I mean? So I would just get your people in free agency and spend money. You know what I mean? And draft, because I think that's what you're best at.
Well, I don't get how you can be like us, right? We've been notoriously really good in the draft. I mean, like for a while we weren't. For a while we weren't, but like I said, I think that's because they started to try to find that guy that nobody heard of, that they thought they were smarter than everybody else, but they weren't. And I think they realized they were wrong. And then their free agents, they've had some big names come in. You're talking about Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill, Chris Clemens. I mean, even Uchenna Nwosu this year. Quandre Diggs was traded for a 5th-round pick, but whenever we trade a 1st-round pick, it does not work out. Percy Harvin, Jimmy Graham, Jamal Adams, it just doesn't work. So I don't know.
I thought you guys getting Jimmy Graham was going to be the cheat code. I thought Jimmy Graham was going to be the same thing like Christian McCaffrey coming to the Niners was going to be. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God, that's going to be deadly. And it was fucking nothing. It was the most weak titty shit ever.
Yeah, it was kind of. I just,
you know what I'm saying? Like I was relieved. But like I was dumbfounded because how? Like it didn't make sense. Like the math is not computing.
Well, he wasn't a fit in our locker room either. I think everybody hated him except Russell Wilson. I mean, he did get in a fight with like half of our team a year before that. A year before we traded for him in the playoffs on the field. And I think ever since then, he never fit in the locker room. You know, he's one of those guys where you see pictures from, our former players. They'll be out and about with guys that, didn't really do a whole lot, or guys that did, like Michael Bennett hangs out with Doug Baldwin all the time and Jermaine Kearse and guys like that. You never see Jimmy Graham in those photos.
Yeah. Okay. But you think that the guy who likes him, the only guy that likes him is throwing the ball, in charge of throwing the ball. So like,
yeah,
and why would Pete be like, yeah, let's go get that guy and then not scheme him up good schemes? Like something just didn't seem right. Maybe
Jimmy Graham could make some of the most ridiculous catches you see, right? But he dropped balls.
The easiest. Yeah.
Yeah, he dropped balls that were thrown right between the numbers. And it's what are you doing?
Do you think Russell Wilson, because of his height, has an issue hitting tight ends?
No, not really, because I'd say a tight end is actually kind of a strong point for us for a while, and people don't see it that way. But if you look at it, it seems like tight ends are always being targeted.
Like, I see you guys use your tight ends like knights in the game of chess. Like you don't expect them till they come out of nowhere with that funny move, and then all of a sudden, they're off and running. You know what I mean? We kind of use our tight ends like bishops and like rooks. You know what I mean? Like straight down the field. They're going to be aggressive with them. You already know what angle they're going to take. You know what I mean?
Well, and that was I think Russ's height really caught up to him this year, and you saw the things that Geno Smith could do that Russell couldn't, which is stand tall in the pocket and find the check down right in the middle of the field when you needed to.
Which I think is way better for an offensive line for the most part. Mm-hmm. Except if like if you're on the right side of the line and the quarterback flushes out to your side, then you now know you need to wall up. But if you're on the left side, the quarterback's gone to the pocket, you could push your guy down and then just go over to the right side and just help create the wall. It just kind of it make things easier. But also at the same time, like if you know your quarterback's where he is in the pocket, you can just keep the guys going around in circles. You know what I mean? Like keep pushing the end around the other end, go this way.
Well, knock on wood, it seemed like there was a lot less holding on passing plays as well, because we don't have a quarterback that's running around like a chicken with his head cut off and then throwing an incomplete pass and it still being a negative 10-yard game. So
with the way he held onto the ball, with the way you guys didn't really put much into the offensive line as far as like guys who can do things with talent. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It just seemed like a recipe for disaster. Holding calls, either sacks, holding call, all that. Just like, I don't know how you guys were so productive all the time. It's crazy.
I don't know. I think that just Pete Carroll's a good coach. He knows how to motivate people. But yeah, you are correct, because there was a lot of games that we pulled out of our ass. That is like, how did they do that? Like there'd be games and you're like, oh, we lost, and then they just pulled it out. So I don't know.
All last second. It
was fun. It was fun, but you notice since Russell got paid, since Earl got paid, it's like they didn't have the money to spread around to the team. And the offensive line was the one position that wasn't getting paid. Max Unger was our last guy making money, and then they traded him for Jimmy Graham. So it's like, what are you going to do?
And that's like my qualm with the Niners. Like, don't get me wrong. I love having Trent Williams on the team. Like, to have a left tackle like him in the game, like you're doing great. But after Trent goes, I want to see them kind of spread the money out equally over the line for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the way to do it. We tried doing that, but we didn't try to do it with the right guys, right? And that's the problem.
Well, it's all from what I've seen, the teams that really get it done right is they draft them all.
Mm-hmm.
They draft them all. Maybe they get one free agent or trade for a guy to complete it. But you know what I mean? They like 3/4 of that line is straight up drafted. And we draft, but I don't, with the way Kyle likes to have his offensive line, I think he's banking for getting the right person all the time, and he never can get the right person for the position, that has all the boxes checked. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes, like, I wish he would change the scheme up a little bit so you didn't have to have, because he kind of, the left side's the strong side, and the right side is where he likes to run his like zone read off of, his outside zone, stuff like that. So it's like, a hammer and the anvil. And which I get, but if you can't consistently find people through the draft to be, winners in that scheme on that side of the field, maybe you should think things through a little bit more. Maybe you should change it up.
Yeah, and we had problems drafting offensive linemen for a long time as well. I mean, because we'd spend the capital.
What was the guy you took? He was like a year one starting tackle, and then the next year he became the starting center. And then like 2 years.
Ethan Posick?
No, it started with a B. His last name started with a B. I believe you draft. Yeah.
Let's see. The ones they drafted were Jermaine Ifedi. He was dog shit. He was basically a turnstile at right guard.
Yeah. But no, it was before him. Or no, after him, I think.
Offensive line.
Yeah.
It was after him?
I think it was after.
George Fant. He was another one.
Started with a B. Like his last name started with a B.
I'm trying to think of the tackles we had.
He was a tackle, but then he turned into a center, and then he was off your team.
Tackle and then turn into a center.
Yeah, he was your center there. He started as a tackle, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's doing okay." And then I don't know if it's the next year or
Justin Britt?
Yes, Justin Britt.
Sorry. Yeah, he was decent, though, at center. He was not decent at tackle or guard.
I was like, how, like, okay. To me, guard or tackle and center are two different players.
Way different. Yeah.
Right.
Way different responsibilities.
So why was he at tackle in the first place? You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, the problem is, I think when one thing works, when the rare occasion that one thing works, you try to repeat it. And history, a lot of times, can't repeat itself.
Can't.
I mean,
Joe Staley was a tight end that was turned into a left tackle.
Joe Staley?
Joe Staley. When does that ever happen?
I thought you said Deuce Staley. I was like,
no,
what?
Joe Staley. Can you believe that?
No, I didn't know it was tight end.
Yeah, one of the best left tackles in the game was just a converted tight end.
And usually it's the opposite, right? Usually it's players going to tight end.
There was a guy today. Somebody was showing me. It was a right tackle. Oh, that's right. Shout out to Ted Talksball. He put out this. There's 6'11", I think, this for a right tackle. It's like guy at tight end. He could already block. 6'11", and you're trying to make him you're looking at him to be your right tackle. And this guy, like because he's so tall, he looks like a tight end. He looks like a beefier Kittle. He looks like a heavier Kittle. Not necessarily beefy, but like Kittle with baby fat a little. And it's like, why make him a tackle? Make him a tight end.
Well, the problem with the Seahawks, right, is so I don't know if you've ever heard of him. His name was J.R. Sweezy. He was our starting right guard in our third Super Bowl, but second under Pete Carroll. That worked. That worked great. And he was a defensive tackle that they converted to offensive guard. Okay, so now you're trying to bring in Justin Britt, who was an offensive tackle, and then go, okay, now you play center. Or we have George Fant. We found him. He was a basketball player. Never played college football or something. I don't know how they found this guy. And they go, okay, you're going to be a left tackle. Well, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work like that.
We got a hold of Richard Hayne, a rugby player, and you guys almost got him too. I think it was between me and you. And we got him, and we couldn't figure out how to make him work. And I was like, dang it. That was the guy. He caught a punt like this.
Oh, really?
On the run. He caught a punt like this over his head on the run.
In a live game?
In a preseason game.
Preseason game, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I
was like, holy shit, this guy.
You're like, I don't trust that guy returning punts anymore.
But at the same time, how do you think he did things in rugby?
Yeah. I don't know much about rugby, to be completely honest with you. Like I kind of get it, but it just looks like a clusterfuck. So
it's not. It's really good when they get going. Oh my gosh, it's really good when one of the team and everybody's flowing. Oh my gosh, it gets really good.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, like their laterals and some of if you look at some of the it's like sneak move. It's almost like some of them no look passes at basketball. They're very talented people. Also, you should check out Aussie Rules Football.
So I've heard of that. I thought that was just rugby. I watched that. That's what I watched.
So that's not rugby. They kind of call it rugby, but it's not really rugby. It's Australian field rugby. But they catch it. Someone boots it down the field, you catch it, and then you turn around and boot it down the field, and you just try to boot it between the poles. But once you could be catching it, right? And somebody could jump up on your back, put their knees on your shoulders. It's called a mark, I believe. And they lean over the top of you and they intercept it. Wow. And then they could turn around and punt it back the other way. So there's like crazy stuff. People are falling in. All these guys are like 6-footers. So you got people jumping on top of 6-footers, falling off the top of 6-footers, and they're 6 foot. You know what I mean? Like I'd
have to understand. I'd have to watch it.
And the field is huge. Like you think soccer players are? Oh no. These guys are lean as hell. They're leaner than any soccer player you've seen. They're taller than any soccer player you've seen. Leaner than any basketball players. You know what I'm saying? They're running down the field and they're doing crazy shit. And then you got rugby union, which is what people think by union or by rugby. And that's like the scrum. That's the laterals down the side. That's the kick, pooch, punt. That's you get tackled and you shove the ball out the back end and your guys take the ball and ladder it over and this and that. Yeah, that's rugby union.
Yeah, I'd have to watch it for a while to understand it, to be completely honest.
Oh, and do you like baseball?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm going to send you a link to some cricket.
No.
There was
I can't do it. No, I cannot do it.
Hold on. There was an Australian dude who passed away not too long ago. And I watched like a top 5 of his best pitches ever, or best bowl. The position's called a bowler.
Yeah, they throw it underhand, right?
Bro, this guy, let me just say this. There was only one I could see without slowing down.
Really?
There's only one I could see without slowing down. and it like one of them looked like it went between the guy's legs and then shot up at a 45 and a 45 to hit the thing. The other one went right behind him. Bink. I mean, there's so many, and you're like, what? Like, it's just like, look, I'm going to send it to you. These guys out there playing cricket are playing an awesome game. Not going to lie.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
I'll try to check it out.
Tell me you're not like, bro, that was cool. That was freaking cool. Those guys, like, especially like there was a guy from, shout out to Aruna, co-host. He's from Sri Lanka. The Sri Lanka team this year, they were playing some tournament. They weren't supposed to be they weren't favored or whatever. And they were down, I can't remember how many points. And this guy comes up to bat and he can't remember how many points he did, but like he won the game off the one at bat. He just put him over. He sat there hitting every single ball back to 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 back. So I mean,
funny.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Like I said, I'm just not very knowledgeable enough to be like, oh shit, yeah, I know what you're talking about, right?
There's a reason why it's popular around the world.
Yeah.
Personally, I think.
Go ahead.
I think our high schools should be playing or should be doing rugby union because it's a safer game than football, and also with how well we are at football, the people that don't do well and don't make it to the NFL, they could put those same uses to work as a rugby player.
Yeah, that
and we could export rugby players. You know what I'm saying? And at that point, man, once any American knows we're putting together, athletes that are dominating another sport, it's only a matter of time before we bring it here and we're trying to, you know what I mean, be the best here, because you know how we do. We just want to be the best at everything. Look at curling. Ain't nobody knew about curling till the Olympics came around. Now people, they got bars around here. There's a bar in Seattle where you can go curling.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. It's down by the Lowe's.
The Lowe's.
Yep. The Lowe's. You know where all the ladies of the night walk early in the morning?
Oh, on Aurora?
North. Yeah, north on Aurora.
Yeah, no, yeah, that is. I never seen a lady of the night before in my life until I went there, and it was about 2 p.m.
I've seen a couple, but I've seen way more there.
I was like, why are these girls waving at me? And then I noticed they're waving at everybody. Bro. And then it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I had never seen anything like it in my life.
I was on YouTube and I'm going through videos, and you know how they'll just start, playing a video.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this video. I don't even know. I didn't even read the title, and I'm like, hey, that's that Krispy Kreme donut place right next to Lowe's, right? And I'm like, hold on. And it's like, this guy's like, he's like recording the ladies. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's like just saying, hey, these are the ladies on the street. You know what I mean? I don't know for what reason. But I'm like, I click on it. I was like, oh my gosh. This guy's whole page, this whole YouTube page is like, he goes around to like all the metropolitan towns. He figures out where these ladies are. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is weird. But I was like, there's somebody who's going around all over this place and they know that this is the spot. I was like, oh my gosh. It was crazy.
I got pretty weirded out there because at first I was like, what is going on? And then it took me a second and clicked. I was like, oh, that's what's going on.
If you head north on Aurora past Lowe's, like there.
Ballard, right? Just a little past Ballard.
No, it's just the next free, like if you're gonna take the freeway, you gotta go under that little, like, it almost looks like it's elevated train, but it's not. There's like a thing across this thing. Anyway.
On 99?
Yeah, Aurora. And you just go up north and you just take your like next right on the path to I-5, and it should be right on the right there after there. It's a bar. I believe it was like a light brown with like dark brown trim.
Oh, a curling bar, you're saying?
Curling, yeah.
Bro, you
Big
said
long
something
story.
earlier about no-look passes in some sport. I couldn't remember. I think it was rugby.
Rugby, yeah.
Did you see Stafford's no-look interception at the beginning of last year? That was pretty badass.
No.
Oh, dude, he tried a no-look pass. They're going, and look, he does a no-look pass because he's looking over here and just throws it right to a defensive back. I'm like, maybe look at the guy next time. Maybe look.
Trying to end up on Sports Center.
Yeah,
and
he did.
Ended up on Sports Center.
Yeah, he accomplished his goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude.
Pickleball is definitely a game the cool kids are playing now, I hear.
Dude, I remember pickleball in high school in gym class. Did you guys play pickleball?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, everybody's
saying now.
Everybody's saying it's like a new thing, but it's not. It's been around.
Bro, like for anybody who doesn't know, in Washington, mostly when you're doing PE, you're in the gym because it's raining so much.
Yeah.
The only time you go outside is to run the mile. And even then they'd be like, if it was bad, they're like, oh, we're not going out there today. We're not running the ball. So there was a lot of square dancing, not line dancing. I got square dancing up here. And I was like, man, can't we do some line dancing? That's way better. You could put that to way better use than square dancing.
I don't know. I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to dancing. So,
oh, well, see, I think that's why they I learned line dancing in California, and then I learned square dancing in Washington. But yeah, you got to stay inside and do things inside. So one of the
we did like indoor badminton.
Bro,
yep. It was like everything was indoor.
We had a game that we played in wrestling. It was called Murder Ball. And we had one of them fun foam balls.
Yeah.
And it was essentially like once you caught the ball, you could take 3 steps. You could pass it to whoever, you know what I mean? Interceptions, all that good stuff. You could muscle through people like, tackle football essentially. Boom.
Yeah, we played this too, I feel like.
You get 3 points if you threw the ball down the middle of the stack, because we'd use we had a step aerobics class in there. So the steps, we'd pile them up into a tower. And if you could get the ball down there, that was 3 points. But if you could hit the tower, that was 1 point. So you had one person being the goalie, you know what I mean? And doing all that. And oh my God, I've got a scar. From hitting the fire extinguisher box that is like rounded so you can't hurt yourself. I cut myself on around it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Oh, it was so fun. Like, just like not caring about what was going to happen. You were just like diving at all angles to just, oh my God, it was so much fun. Murder ball.
Yeah, that was fun. Do you, so my dad told me something. I meant to tell this in the jokes day the other day, but I totally forgot. So my dad, when I was probably like 10, 11 years old, he goes, you know what's awesome about the 49ers coming to town? And I go, what? He goes, they come here, they spend all our money at our restaurants in Seattle. They buy our food, buy our beer, and then they gotta take their asses home after they lose all the way down to Kent, and they'll stay there for another year.
Oh, shout out to everybody. Make sure if you ever come to Washington and drink beer, make sure you have a Mac and Jack.
Yeah, Mac and Jack's good.
#1 tap handle in the state. They don't bottle it.
That's if you come to Washington, I say you gotta try this. #1.
I'm just saying Mac and Jack because it's like the #1 tap handle. It has been forever. Probably will consistently be until they go out of business, which I don't see happening anytime soon. They also have the stupid kegs.
What's the deal with Pyramid kind of shut down too. That's one that you thought would be around forever.
Pyramid, did it shut down?
The Ale House did, at least. They don't make their winter beer anymore. They only make their one like outburst.
Well, what could be happening is they might be, how to put this, when a beer starts running out of favor, they might not need to have an operation that massive in a satellite thing. They could take over production at a bigger facility and then just ship it out.
Well, they quit when COVID happened because that was a restaurant, remember, across from the Mariners Stadium, the Pyramid Ale House.
Yep.
And now it's the Hatback Bar and Grill. But I miss Pyramid beer. That was fun.
I remember I went to one of the snow cap release parties one time.
That was my dad's favorite beer. Around every November, it started coming out. Yeah.
I can't remember. I'm listening to live music. I've got a shot glass that's been carved out of ice, and I could just go over and get all I want. Fucking snow cap. All you can drink.
Couldn't drink a whole lot of it, too. It was dark. Like bitter.
Yes.
And that was my dad's favorite freaking beer. I didn't like it.
Yeah. I don't really like the dark beers.
Bryant likes
Dayglow. Okay.
We see it, Bryant. You're secretly a Seattleite. We know you.
Yeah. What about Manny's? Manny's Pale?
Yeah, Manny. He probably never had Manny's. It's only on tap.
Yep. It's another one of those you got to come up to Washington to have.
They canned Manny's one time during COVID, and I got some, and it was not the same.
So Mac and Jack's bottled their beer at some point, and it went out of date because no one bought it. And they said, screw that. We're never doing it again. So they just keg it in these crappy kegs that look like, those little chocolates that look like a bell?
Hershey's?
Yeah. No, the ones that, look like a bell. I'm guessing lots of companies make them. Anyway, if you take two of those and you put the bell ends together, that's what one of those stupid kegs looks like. It's got no handle. How do you pick that up? How do you double stack that? It's one of the stupid. It's like it's made to go in a certain kind of like conveyor belt system. Mm-hmm. So it rolls a certain way, and it's like this and that, and it's like different from every other keg ever. And that's the system they have. They're not going to put money into buying a new system because they got all the kegs, they got all the this and that. They're not going to pay the money for it. So that's how it rolls.
Well, what you got going on the rest of the week?
Got a show with Raj tomorrow. I got the Friday night call-in.
Be there, be square.
Yep. That's pretty much for the rest of the week.
Thursday, we got trivia at Lockdown Corey Davis's channel.
Speaking of which, I need to make sure I get everything updated.
What else is going on? Saturday, Brian's going to have that capologist on his channel, right?
Yep.
And yeah, I think Monday, me and Levi are going to do a list of, we're going to do 2 different top 10 lists. We let Bryant was in the chat, so we let him choose the top 10 list we're doing next week. We're going to do top 10 current coaches and top 10 head coaches of all time. So that some will be highly debatable, obviously.
Yeah.
Nathan will be there Friday night, but he might have another Ranger to go to. Who knows? Don't get that Ranger stuck, all right?
Hey, is that 6:00 the only time you guys can go live on Monday?
No, why?
I was going to say, because I know you asked me to be on it, but I got the other show. But if you guys moved it to 5, like I could.
Yeah, I'll try. Yeah, I just said I do everything at 6 just in case I get off work a little late.
You're good. Yeah.
But anyways, with that, I think we're going to end this one. And unless you got any questions.
What do you got going on this week? Let the people know.
Basically what you got going on this week.
Oh, you ain't got any other sneaky things coming out?
I did. I'll definitely let you know. I did message a Rams guy on Twitter. We'll see if he responds to possibly come this week. We'll see, though. It's always a 50-50 chance if they respond or not. Or I'd like to get that Ramzilla, or what's his name? Ramelia?
Yeah, Rudy.
He seems like he'll talk a lot of shit. So maybe try to have him on one of these days.
Yeah, well, if we can ever get him to respond.
Yeah, you know, he's kind of a weird guy. He kind of pops in every now and then and just talk shit.
I think some of it's Steve-O. We got to watch out.
Oh, yeah, like you said.
You got to – oh, speaking of which, David McNiner, I told him, when we're in here, you know, just when we get the card, what's his name? I told David McNiner, you're always in the chats, and you know how to check to see if that's the real one. So I was like, you know, next time Jim Everett's in, make sure that's the real Jim Everett before we do the thing. You know what I'm saying? Before we do the thing, because I don't want to waste it on nobody. You know what I mean?
Oh, you mean if it's somebody pretending to be Jim Everett the Great?
Yeah, I want to make sure we got the real guy in there.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely – you have 3 Jim Everett cards now, so I'm definitely keeping this one to rip up.
There you go.
Next time I see him.
Yeah.
Did you check your mail today?
I'm going to now.
Oh, you piece of shit.
But I didn't know if it would be here by yet or not, but then I was like, I should probably go check now.
No, I checked the tracking numbers, so I made sure they shipped when I texted you saying, hey, check your mail. I text Bryant the same thing. So.
Oh, okay.
But with that, I think we're out, guys. We'll definitely see you next Wednesday with some can't miss NFC West content. So we'll see you guys next Wednesday.
Peace.